Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily television news show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified that the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel is the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 10 million views.
More than 1,000 people subscribed to our YouTube channel in the last 30 days. We invite you to like and subscribe to Queer News Tonight. We have more subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community.
There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, July 10th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed specifically for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happenings Out Television Network.
In 2025, the magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ television stories. We represent Pride Fest in August. We declare love is in the air in Pride Fort Lauderdale on Valentine's Day, February 14th. The magazine, events, television shows and talk, entertainment shows all support the mission to educate the LGBTQ community and broader area.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Buddy Frey. He supports many of South Florida's local nonprofit organizations like Julian's Fountain of Youth and the Stonewall National Library Museum. Buddy, TransSocial Summer Barbecue is on July 27th. Tell me what's happening.
Well, sure. TransSocial will host its annual summer barbecue on Sunday, July 27th at 1 p.m. at Tropical Park in Miami. This community celebration offers an afternoon of unity, pride, and remembrance. This year's theme pays tribute to the legacy of transcestors like Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, pioneers whose activism laid the foundation for trans rights today. The event will offer delicious food, welcoming vibes, and a safe, affirming space for individuals across the gender spectrum to connect, reflect, and celebrate. Organized by TransSocial, a South Florida-based nonprofit supporting the transgender community, the barbecue will bring together allies, advocates, and families in honor of both history and progress. For all inquiries, attendees are encouraged to email info@transsocial, that's 2 S's, .org. Well, I mean, anytime you have a barbecue in the summer, what the hell, we're going to have fun. But this is important because it's also helping to educate and to celebrate the past and hopefully encourage the future, to remember the past where we are, especially in this political climate where we know that the trans community is under such fire from politicians.
And they're looking at such great transcestors, you know, like Sylvia Rivera was such a remarkable person, and I think I'm always hesitant on how to describe her because she didn't like labels. She always was transcending and breaking barriers, and Marsha P. Johnson was an amazingly wonderful and humble person who, to the very end of her days, would claim she didn't throw the first brick.
Well, she should have.
Well, we don't know. Some reports say she may have climbed up the stone wall, taken something, and threw it down on a police car, but I doubt she wants the cops to know that.
We're definitely looking forward to going to that.
Yeah, and it's important because not only were they important in the trans history, but they were the foundation of gay rights in general. So, I mean, this is an important event.
And it's important to continue to tell the stories because our history is trying to be erased. So this is a perfect opportunity to be able to meet and educate our youth as they come out to this too.
I mean, I think that's important because we keep talking about visibility, but also, we want to encourage people who are not trans but are still part of the queer community to go to these events to not only support our trans brothers and sisters, but also to learn from them, find out what their stories are, and educate themselves, and find out how that they can help. And as you said, with the political climate we have right now, we all need to really kind of band together and show kind of solidarity.
Hear, hear. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at TransSocial Summer Barbecue on July 27th. That's a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Vaughn Biggs. He is a Community Engagement and Outreach Coordinator at Holy Cross Health, a Vice Chair of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council, and a board member of Trans Ed and Harmony Waves. Vaughn, the second annual Parenting with Pride Summit is on July 29th. Tell me what's happening out.
That's right, Alex. The second annual Parenting with Pride Summit will take place on Tuesday, July 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., bringing together families, educators, and allies of LGBTQ youth from across Florida. Held virtually, this year's theme, Pride in Every Backpack, Parent Tools for a Safe, Supported School Year, will guide powerful sessions on legal rights, wellness, and inclusive education. Attendees can expect interactive workshops, a dynamic expert education panel, and vital tools for self-care and advocacy. A keynote speaker will share personal stories to inspire resilience and action. Organized for parents, caregivers, teachers, and community leaders, the summit will serve as a space to learn, heal, and prepare for the new school year with pride. For registration and full details, reach the organizers at parentingwithpride.org. It's so important, especially in Florida's, environment when it comes to our school children, and to be there to be supportive of them, and for parents to have tools that can help them with their children, because a lot of times parents don't really even know how to navigate themselves, to help the students. So this is a great opportunity to learn that from the expert.
Well, especially if you have a much younger kid who is coming in terms with their sexuality, and because we see children coming out younger and younger because they have more exposure to LGBT lifestyles, and so parents need those tools, especially to help not only their child in school but out of school. When the child comes home and they've either been bullied by fellow students or even sometimes the teachers, especially here in Florida. The parents really do need to have kind of those tools, where to go, how to cope with it, and how to help their child through that transition.
But it's also important for the staff of those schools, the LGBTQ allies who are trying to navigate a very treacherous and sometimes razor-thin legal moment for them, to try and give respect to the child, give respect to the parents, be realistic to the moment, and still be a support base without, getting into drama that is unnecessary.
And this is why it's important, I think, to have parents participate.
Yeah.
Because teachers cannot say things, so parents who are educated and aware and can talk to each other, connections are usually more important here than the education of these things. So hopefully they will learn to connect with each other. I know some queer parents with great kids who have those tools because they have each other. Hopefully this brings people together. So.
Exactly. This is such an important problem. Like, parents that are queer kids and queer parents, they still have rights in this country, and it's so important. And even as someone myself who is willfully childless, I enjoy hearing about these sorts of events. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the second annual Parenting with Pride Summit on July 29th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Rex Rogosch. Rex is a visionary designer with over 30 years of experience in product design, interior design, and architecture. Also known in the drag community as International Lords, Rex recently returned to performing. As president and co-founder of Latera, he champions mental health awareness through vibrant, inclusive events. Rex, Bathed in Bubbles Brunch brings sass and sparkle to Florida on July 20th. Tell me what's happening out.
Absolutely, Alex. On Sunday, July 20th, Babes and Bubbles Lesbian Brunch will return to Violets and Zens for a dazzling afternoon of queer joy, food, and fierce performances. Hosted by Ray Genet and powered by Legique, the signature lesbian brunch happens every third Sunday and promises a vibrant mix of burlesque, drag music, vendors, and a whole lot of queer community magic. Doors will open at 12 p.m. sharp, and guests are encouraged to arrive on time as the live performances will begin promptly at 3 p.m. Entry is $10 and includes one free shot to kick off the fun. As the only lesbian brunch in Florida to feature both burlesque and drag, Babes and Bubbles is expected to draw a crowd ready to celebrate love, laughter, and loud queer joy. For more details, visit Babes and Bubbles Lesbian Brunch on Instagram. I mean, they had me at brunch. And then they had me at shots.
Right.
And then they had me at burlesque and drag. No, I mean, I love the fact that you know, we're starting to see a lot more events that, you know, are not just the typical, you know, boys and brunch and drag queens, and really starting to see the community come together and just have fun. You know, we have so many things happening right now that are so serious and time consuming. And, you know, as someone who advocates for mental health, it really is kind of hurtful for our mental health with everything that's going on. So it's nice to have just a day to go relax, have a couple cocktails, see some friends, see some entertainers, and just relax.
Well, based on that filming, there's a lot of jiggling and not a lot of relaxing going on. But,
Look, jiggling is relaxing to me.
I've been invited to those before. I guess I'm the queer cleric. They invite to those things to make it whatever. And I enjoy being there.
Yeah.
The vibrancy, the electricity is in the room.
Yeah,
A wonderful
and it
place to be.
seems obvious from that video that we just
And
ran.
I averted my eyes, but
And $10 is actually very reasonable.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, again, it's going to a good cause.
It'll cost you more than that for a shot at another bar.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I find whenever you liquor up lesbians, it's a good time. And Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Babes and Bubbles Brunch on July 20th. That is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Reverend Robert Hadley. Robert is a deacon at Holy Angels National Catholic Church in Wilton Manors and a certified ambassador with the Faith and HIV program. Robert, they're the free Worship by Rise and Shine nutritional counseling on July 24th to help the LGBT community in eating disorder recovery. Tell me what's happening out.
well, Alex and everyone else, yes, on Thursday, July 24th, adults will come together online for a powerful 90-minute workshop focused on recovery from bulimia and binge eating. Hosted by Rise and Shine Nutrition Counseling, this free event will take place from 7:30 to 9 p.m. Be led by expert eating disorder clinician Amber Weiser. Participants will engage in supportive space designed specifically for LGBTQ individuals who feel out of control of their eating habits. They will learn to explore how to reduce eating disorders, behaviors, and gain practical tools like meal planning, mindfulness strategies, and value-based eating techniques. The workshop will also cover common pitfalls, like how to navigate high-risk eating scenarios, such as holidays or work gatherings. Attendees can expect a high-value experience that empowers them to take meaningful steps toward healing. More information is available at riseshinenutrition.com. I have seen her speak before in person. Fantastic meal prep, the way things are discussed, simple, clear, and direct, and workable. And I think mental health is one of the common issues here. It helps binge eating. People look themselves badly for sometimes. It's always been a thing. I don't look good enough. Many people come across that. So this is a worthwhile experience.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, body dysmorphia is a huge situation in the LGBTQ community. I mean, we're always having to look up to some, you know, Adonis stereotype, as a lot of people are either, you know, don't look good enough, don't have enough hair, don't have enough, you know, so eating disorders is definitely a huge, you know, issue in the LGBTQ community and for mental health. And so what also is kind of nice about this is it is online, so you can kind of do it from the privacy of your own home, because there is a lot of stigma against mental health and a lot of shame, personal shame. So, you know, go online and get the tools, and then see that, again, you're not alone in this, that you're not the only one suffering, and don't suffer in silence.
And I think it's important to realize, you know, food is medicine, right? I mean, it really is. And obviously some of the disorders, you know, they value food as like the devil, so to speak. It's, you know, it's evil. And it's a way some of these individuals have to learn that nutrition actually becomes medicine for you as well. And
It's also
very
sometimes
important.
control. Like my friends and I, some of us, we went from in high school. I grew up at a time where like people thought Britney Spears was fat for like having a 22-inch waist. So we had some very interesting ideas of how fat we all thought we were. And like for me and some friends, it was not as extreme. But like I did have some friends that did have to go and take treatment for bulimia and anorexia. There were other gay men, and like control is a big part of it. Trying to be able to just fit into our society is another part of it. Like it's hard, and hearing these sorts of things just really, really is good to see. And any young person who's like, you're a lot prettier than you think you are, and I just ask you to try and go to these things and think about some self-care. So, well, and that is a Queer News Tonight. Looks forward to seeing you at a free workshop by Rise and Shine Nutritional Counseling on July 24th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options magazine, the media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Alex, Sister Act set to bring disco and drama to the Seminole Theater through July 27th. Tell me, what's happening out?
Sure thing. Get ready for a heavenly dose of funk, comedy, and sisterhood as Sister Act hits the stage at Seminole Theater from July 18th to 27th. With 6 high-energy performances across 2 weekends, Friday through Sunday, audiences will groove to the beat of this uplifting musical comedy based on the beloved 1992 film. The show will be musically directed and produced by Queer News Tonight lead anchor Trinidaddy and features original songs by Tony and Oscar-winning Alan Menken. Sister Act follows disco diva Dolores Van Cartier, who hides in a convent after witnessing a murder. Disguised as a nun, Dolores transforms a struggling choir and community with her flair, only to risk exposing her identity. Tickets are priced at $40.62 and are available now online at SeminoleTheater.org. And, you know, I've always been an old fan of Sister Act. You know, I thought it was such a great thing. You know, as a kid, I didn't quite understand how gay it was, but most people understood how gay I was. So I would just say it looks like a really fun time.
I want everybody to show up in nun habits.
Yes.
I want the performers to see a sea of nun habits and out. You know,
I wear a cassock instead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There you go.
No, I mean, I love Sister Act. I love the musical. And again, this is a way to support local theater, which is, you know, a great avenue, again, to go out and have some fun. $40 is nothing for
We'll probably
for a
go
night
to
out.
Trans Barbecue in the morning and then in the evening.
There you go.
Whole day of it.
And
Queer day.
then stay, you know, go to the Hard Rock and have a dinner. You know, you're supporting local community, you're supporting local theater, you're supporting local businesses.
And the Hard Rock, who is always supporting us.
Absolutely.
Good venue.
Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Sister Act at the Seminole Theater through July 27th. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up faith. Pope Leo to continue blessing same-sex couples. But is that enough? The new Pope will continue to bless same-sex couples, marking a complex but significant moment for LGBTQ Catholics around the world. Pope Leo XIV, who once denounced what he called, quote, the homosexual lifestyle, quote, will uphold his predecessor's groundbreaking 2023 decision allowing priests to bless queer unions. That's according to Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, head of the Vatican's Doctrine Office. When asked whether Pope Leo would revoke those blessings, Fernandez responded, quote, I really don't think so. The declaration will remain, end quote. These blessings do not equate to same-sex marriage, which the Church still forbids. LGBTQ advocates are reacting cautiously to this news. Francis Bernardo of New Wave Ministry said, quote, we pray that in the 13 years that have passed, 12 of which were under the papacy of Pope Francis, that his heart and mind have developed more progressively on LGBTQ plus issues. and we will take a wait-and-see attitude to see if that has happened, end quote. Though now signaling a more inclusive stance, Pope Leo, then Bishop Robert Prevost, once criticized media portrayals of queer families as too sympathetic. He lamented how alternative families like that of same-sex partners and their adopted children are so sympathetically portrayed in television programs and cinema. One thing is for sure, the road to full inclusion in the Catholic Church is far from over. You know, I see this sort of story, and the first thing I think is like, whatever his personal feelings are, the Catholic Church, as a non-expert, I only went to like Catholic school as a kid, they don't like change. So Francis said we're going to do it. I don't see the next pope being like, well, let's just completely reverse it. They don't act like the current Supreme Court and just going loosey-goosey with it. But at the same time, you know, like, you don't like that families are shown sympathetically? What the heck is that supposed to mean? Like, wake up, Pope Leo. Goodness. But I guess we have a few people of faith in the room that might want to comment.
My gosh, what a surprise. When I read this story, I realized, well, that's nice to know. Welcome to the 21st century. I can understand the Catholic Church's reluctance to make change in itself. Like I said, it's been strong against change. There are so many people who want to hold true to whatever faith is, like the gold standard of Catholicism for people. Well, they may not disagree with things. That's why I left the Catholic Church. I disagreed with many thinkings. And the Catholic Church of America will not bless you, will marry you. I'll be more than glad to marry anybody, as long as you love each other and show that. It is more about, but for people who are dyed-to-wool Catholics, it's important to realize there is some light of hope. Mm-hmm. So it's a good sign. And again, it's more the affirming instead of accepting. It's affirming.
Right. And as a recovering Catholic, you know, I think the church is one step forward, two steps back, three steps forward, half a step back. I mean, it's constantly, yeah, it truly is, because the word marriage in this conversation, while it's got a religious definition, for the American political system, marriage, the only reason we've chosen the word marriage is because it's financially and politically determined by the history of the United States judicial system. We didn't choose the word marriage for a religious reason, we chose it for a legal reason, because for our rights as gay men and women, we have to marry, we have to that allows us financial benefits, that allows us inheritance benefits, that allows us health benefits, the legal benefits, that allows us adoption, that allows us to you know, passing and everything else. I mean, it's not a religious tone that we're choosing that word necessarily. It's defined by the political system that we're in. And I think that's the same for 99% of the other countries around the world. The word marriage is a political word. It's not a religious word. I'm at least thankful that he's willing to continue the step and a half forward. It's not the mile that we all want, but I think we need to be grateful for that, because like you just said earlier, I mean, it could be like the Supreme Court, and it's like, well, give me that back. I didn't mean to say that, even though it was 20 minutes ago. So it's one of those odd situations. And then on top of that, the Catholic Church has a history of gay marriage. They used to marry priests. Yes. You know, I don't know what year but there's 100-year history of married priests and men being married to men. You know, it's kind of a, you know, what side of the world do you want to live on today? Right. But at least I'm thankful for the Pope to at least be willing to be a little more open, even though he's only looking at it from a biblical sense.
No, to be perfectly frank, Christianity has always been messed up after Thomas Aquinas. He was a former, for those that don't know, he was a sex addict turned non-sex addict, and he just really made a weird warping of their faith. I know I'm going to get all sorts of mail from that now, but too bad. Look it up.
And King James.
Cuckoo.
I mean, King James, who wrote the King James Bible, he was as queer as a $2 bill.
I mean, you know, as someone who's very against organized religion. I mean, you brought it up, actually. Marriage has nothing to do with religion at all. It was actually founded by the Greeks and the Romans to allow their slaves and people to marry for property. So marriage has always been a legal document. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until Christianity came about that they started acquiring stuff. So I'm glad that the Catholic Church has said, we will recognize this. But also, funny enough, the Catholics do have a doctrine that says that they will recognize any marriage that is legally recognized by the state in which it is. I did a whole thesis on this, and it's a weird thing. So technically, the Catholic Church should be recognizing gay marriages because their doctrine says so. However, I will agree with you. I think this is a glimmer of hope, to be positive about this. The fact that we have somebody who has been, they being the Catholic Church, has been typically against LGBT communities in general, is at least recognizing that we're not so bad, and that we are part of the the greater collective community of the world, and that yes, you two getting together is okay by me.
Yeah.
Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Buddy Frey, and let's queer up gay culture. Jesse Tyler Ferguson says gay critics of Modern Family were the loudest. Out gay actor Jesse Tyler Ferguson is opening up about the surprising backlash he faced, not from anti-LGBTQ voices, but from inside the community itself. Ferguson, who played Mitchell Pritchett, a gay character on the groundbreaking sitcom Modern Family, is now the host of the Dinners on Me podcast. In a recent episode with guest Russell Tovey, he revealed that the harshest critics of his role often came from fellow queer people. He said, quote, "The criticism I think I heard it the loudest was always from the gay community, as if maybe I didn't represent their idea of what a gay relationship was or a gay man was," end of quote. But Ferguson pushed back gently, saying, "I'm representing one person. I'm in charge of this one character." Modern Family, which ran from 2009 to 2020, won 22 Emmy Awards and helped normalize queer families on mainstream TV. Ferguson himself was nominated 5 times for Outstanding Supporting Actor. And the show's impact continues. Aubrey Anderson Emmons, who played Lily, his daughter, recently used a scene from the show to come out as bisexual on TikTok, proof that visibility still matters, even if it isn't perfect. For LGBTQ viewers, Ferguson's honesty offers a reminder: representation is complex, but it's also powerful. Look, we're a gay community. I don't care what you do. None of us are going to be happy, So, I never saw his role as being too one way or the other. It's a character. It's a stupid comedy for all creation.
Well, and he didn't write it.
No, he's acting it.
He's acting it. And unfortunately, sitcoms always have to play to the middle ground, right? So historically, most gay characters on TV have been somewhat a stereotype because that's what's palatable to Mrs. Smith and Joe in Ohio. Yes, would it be nice to have multiple characters? But again, not every show has to be a full spectrum of what we...
But there were plenty of episodes where there was a full spectrum of gay characters. Friends of Jesse's character and his husband's character.
Yes.
So, we can't celebrate that there's finally a gay character and then bitch that it's a gay character.
100%.
Well, as a queer person, I think we most certainly can demand a gay character and then bitch about that character. That is what our community is for, people.
It's true. Because we will sit around and judge. Give them a reason. Just give them a reason.
You don't even have to give me a reason.
They're going to do it. And even if it was a straight show, they would be criticizing that too.
Right.
So, we have a voice, we use our voice, and we have our opinions, and we're entitled to them. So
that's okay, but just calm your ass down.
It's hard because sitcoms, they don't just do the stereotypes. They tend to flatten and make a lot of characters gay and straight very one-dimensional.
100%.
And I think that's a bigger issue nowadays, in the post Game of Thrones.
Right.
Game of Thrones was good. We now expect more character development, and the sitcom, it was nice, but yeah, they were a little flat as characters. They make great TikTok memes now, but it's not the same lasting thing as the Angels in America or something.
But there's also a difference between streaming TV and broadcast TV.
Yeah.
We're not talking about HBO or Netflix or these big streaming platforms that can do those types of things and get away with things. They had to broach topics that had to be live on a public TV. So, you said, calm down.
Well, and let's celebrate the fact that it lasted so long, and it did bring a lot of reality. Yep. I mean, they talked about adoption. They showed the difficulty they had with the adoption. They showed the difficulty with the family members. Come on, relax.
Absolutely.
It's TV.
And that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Von Biggs, and let's queer up health. 55% of LGBTQ adults are bisexual. So why are they still misunderstood? Tonight we spotlight a group that makes up the majority of the LGBTQ community, but remains misunderstood and marginalized. Bisexual people. Did you know more people identify as bisexual than as a lesbian or gay? Yet, as Tania Israel, professor of counseling psychology at the University of California, points out, quote, a lot of bisexual people don't actually openly identify as bisexual, to a large extent because of the concern about exclusion and the negativity that they get, end quote. Israel says bisexual folks often face skepticism, even outright denial. Quote, some people will say, well, I think it's just a phase. You're on your way to coming out as a lesbian or gay. Interestingly, people often think that bisexual women are really straight and bisexual men are really gay. Everybody thinks people are actually attracted to men, end quote. Such dismissal can cause them harm. When people encounter these kinds of messages, it can affect their mental health. And the stereotypes don't just stop there. Bisexual people are frequently over-sexualized or asked to prove it. They're met with intrusive questions, assumptions about threesomes, or fears about open relationships. So what can allies do? Israel suggests starting with simple support like thanking them for trusting you or asking them, what's it been like for you? There are also organizations like AMBI and the Bisexual Resource Center that offer community and connection for bi folks seeking visibility and support. The thing to remember is believing bisexual people and standing with them will make a real measurable difference. You can read more about it in the article on Time, written by Angela Hupp. You know, it was very interesting seeing this story because, you know, they do. A lot of people, I've had that conversations with people. I even experimented when I was coming out where I dated both. And it was just a matter, and it wasn't a matter of, it was really finding out who I was versus saying, oh, I wanted to play both sides of the field. No, it was a way of, you know, it is, for me, it was a determination. But there are a lot of people that enjoy that fluidity, as I would call it. And hey, more hats to you. I mean, it gives you more people to choose from.
Well, I find it interesting that it talks about people are worried about threesomes and open relationships when threesomes and open relationships are run rampant in the gay community.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Exactly. So it you know, that assumption needs to be taken away because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's also interesting that, you know, the comment she said that everybody just assumes that you like men. So the men are gay and the females just like men, and it's a phase, which shows how, you know, men-centric our community is already, and which is also another problem. With bisexuality, you know, it is again about finding out from that person. You know, if they're in a committed monogamous relationship, they're in a committed monogamous relationship. Anybody can look. Doesn't matter if they're looking at men or women. Right. It doesn't matter if they're lesbian, gay, or straight. You know, if they're not monogamous at heart, they're not monogamous at heart. So it's not just susceptible to bisexual people, it's susceptible to anybody.
Right.
I agree with that entirely. It's not just, it's a label. We have to include our LGBTQ in what we do. But why we have to stick with that? We don't. People think I'm bisexual or dating a woman. Well, this is a transgender woman. So what puts me as queer? I don't label anything else as a queer couple. So, again, we're talking about mental health so far, from the trans barbecue, the parenting thing, the Catholics, all mental health. How do we identify ourselves and love ourselves? It's all about, can you love yourself? Is my bottom line.
There is the issue of how we support by people. I remember, like, when I was editor of Options, I would write a lot about a state senator who I call him an out state senator. He had a wife. He's an old friend of mine that I've known forever, but he's bisexual. So, but I was like, you know, I do have a wife, and like, do you think I'm really part of the community? I'm like, well, I remember in our 20s what you used to do, girls. So like, I know you were part of the community, but also like, people are so harsh on bisexual men. Like, one, because a lot of bisexual men have a lot of sex with men, and like, well, that means you're gay. And as one TikToker explained why bisexual men have more sex with men, they're like, the reason is, if I want to have sex with a woman, I have to slay a dragon. If I want to have sex with a man, it's like ordering a pizza. So which one do you think I'm going to do most weeks? Like, so, and just because they have sex with more men than women doesn't mean they're not bisexual. You know, they still like it, and why not? You know, the only other thing I'll say on this, looking at the Gallup polling, is Gallup. I was interested to see one in other polls when I was at the task force. I'd see a much larger gap between the number of people that said they were gay versus lesbian, and I keep an eye on that just because we do worry about the economics of like is it hard to open lesbian businesses. If less people identify as lesbian, that might be why, and how do we help with that? But this was much closer than normal. And the other thing is, I'd love to see them dive more and ask that 55% more unique questions about the bisexual community, because we don't see a lot of diving into that in surveys.
I've seen a lot more, I think, in our youth, happening more and more, where they're initially coming out identifying as bisexual in their youth.
Well, they're exposed more. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
seeing a more open and successful gay community. You know, past my generation, ancient as I am, you know, being gay was not necessarily a sin. It was a lack of success because gay men weren't successful. You didn't have a huge career. You couldn't have a huge career. You couldn't own a house. You always lived on the wrong side of the tracks. You were seedy and hidden in the shadows. That stereotype isn't necessarily there anymore.
Well, and I've also been a proponent of, we are, as human beings, we are animals, and we've used our brain to equate sex with love, when actually it isn't. Sex is an animalistic instinct, and it's made there for procreation and pleasure. It has nothing to do with love. So, you know, the idea of bisexuality, where you were saying, you know, you can get sex with a man and it's like ordering out pizza. You know, I've always equated people, you know, we're having the bro jobs and all this, you know, you're seeing a lot more fluidity around sex in general. And I think that's where we need to get the education is, you know, to me, being gay, lesbian, bisexual, it's who you love, not who you have sex with necessarily. And, you know, having sex with multiple types of partners doesn't necessarily make you one type of thing. It means you have sex with multiple type of partners, and then there's who you love. So I agree with you, Alex. I'd like to see more in depth, you know, kind of dive into some of these Gallup polls instead of some, you know, are you bisexual or not? Because I think we're starting to learn and educate ourselves on the difference between sexuality and gender and all those types of
intimacy.
It's completely different.
And I agree with you, Rex, about, you know, it's more straight boys are experimenting, and I think it's high time we tell very attractive straight men that it's not gay if you want to touch your friends or me sometime. And that is a big LGBTQ story for today.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up entertainment. Netflix's Queer Eye to end after season 10. Netflix is saying goodbye to one of its most beloved and longest-running unscripted series. The streaming giant announced Wednesday that Queer Eye will end after season 10. While no official reason has been given for the show's conclusion, fans and LGBTQ audiences across the country are already feeling the loss. Since premiering in 2018, Queer Eye has become a cultural phenomenon. Its original Fab Five, Karamo Brown, Tan France, and Tony Porowski, Jonathan Van Ness, and Bobby Burke have become household names and powerful voices in queer representation. After season 8, Bobby Burke left the show and was replaced by designer Jeremiah Brent. The Fab Five have journeyed across the globe, bringing heartfelt transformations and unforgettable moments from Kansas and Missouri to Las Vegas, New Orleans, and even Tokyo. Now, their final season will be taking place in Washington, D.C., a fitting finale in a city that symbolizes change, resilience, and advocacy. The series has received 37 Emmy nominations and took home the award for Outstanding Structured Reality Program 6 years in a row, until Shark Tank edged them out last year. Queer Eye wasn't just about makeovers, it was about healing, hope, and humanity. And for so many queer viewers, it was a reminder that we all deserve to be seen, celebrated, and loved. I mean, when this show first came out, I loved it. I mean, it really did bring queer community into straight, heteronormative, kind of backwoods areas. And by the end of each show, the person who was getting their makeover really had a more understanding of what it was to be not only, you know, accepting these people that confronted them, but they also were accepting of themselves. So that was great. I did see a shift as it, you know, kind of it went on and it got a little kind of outlandish, and it really wasn't about the stories, more about, you know, how radical the makeover could be. There have been some heartfelt kind of moments there. It's interesting that they're leaving. I mean, unfortunately, HGTV has just done a bunch of canceling of shows, of some of their most popular shows, and a lot of people are blaming it on DEI kind of rolling back. I mean, a very queer out TV show on HGTV, a POC, and these two shows were their top shows, and they just cut them without any anybody saying. So to hear this and the timing's about the same, I wonder why, like they said, that it's being cut. It's a shame, but we have to honor the progress that it made, and it did become a household name, and it did give a voice to a lot of queer people, and gave them a platform. And we've seen Van Nuys now everywhere, red carpets, and without that platform, he probably. Who's to say that would have happened? So
the show brought a lot of success in a lot of ways to the gay community, and I'm very grateful for that. But at the same point, 10 years is a long time. You can only do the same thing every show for so long. I mean, and I'm not trying to take away from the show or the the cast, but it's time.
How many shows out there have made it that long?
Exactly. So let's celebrate that. I mean,
Absolutely.
Shark Tank is another one that needs to leave.
Don't even give us Bobby, don't worry. I'll take away from this show for you. I don't know. Like, I remember the original Queer Eye, and one, it did get old. It got old like 15 years ago. How many times can you go into someone's world? We be these magical queers. We make your life better. Like, oh my God, I did not know that queer people are so nice. Like, how many years can we do that same story? How many times can we tell the same men to not shave the wrong way? Like, it got old. I never even saw this show because I was like, what's the point? And no offense to these gentlemen, but they always felt like imposters compared to the original group, And I was like, I don't want another remake of something. How many remakes do we have? We're literally about to see the third or fourth remake. No, the fourth remake in my life of the Fantastic Four. I don't need any more remakes of anything at this point.
But my point is that it introduced a wide array of gay men with different personalities, different sets of talent. Bobby was on one end of the spectrum, and I just forgot his name. The one in
not helping against disproving my point.
I think that they need to redo this show and go back to see the people who got remade and see where they are now.
Yeah, that might be a good way.
Like, see if they held on to.
But I'm just saying it shows a wide spectrum, of the kind of men that exist in the gay community. Some are more butch than others, and they all have the same emotions, and and then we are real people of our own personalities, and that was the important part of the show when I saw it, because it introduced people to farm towns of 300 people. That everybody, I mean, you have gay cowboys, and you have gay farmers, and you have lesbians, and it was a success in that capacity. It did. It's just sometimes you need to just say goodbye.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep in this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Reverend Robert Hadley. Let's queer up USA view on controversial trans MAGA activist Sophia Hutchins killed in a tragic ATV accident. Sophia Hutchins, a transgender conservative activist, once rumored to be Caitlyn Jenner's girlfriend, has died in a horrific ATV crash in Malibu. She was 29. The accident happened around 11:30 a.m. last week near Jennifer's Malibu condo. Authorities say Hutchins was speeding when her all-terrain vehicle rear-ended a gray Mazda. The impact launched her ATV over a 350-foot ravine, tragically landing on a previously crashed car. Hutchins was pronounced dead at the scene. No one else was injured. Sergeant Eduardo Sarduso of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office said in the Daily Mail, "It looked like she tried to maneuver to go around it, but she was going too fast and just ended up clipping the other vehicle. It caused her to veer off and go off a cliff there." Toxicology reports are pending. Hutchins was known for her appearances on Fox News and her role on the board of Log Cabin Republicans, a group that opposes trans civil rights. She supported the current president's re-election campaign, and even his administration enacted policies that have harmed the transgender community. She met Caitlyn Jenner in 2015 and served as her personal manager and was on the board of CEO of the Caitlyn Jenner Foundation. Despite years of public speculation, Hutchins has denied any romantic involvement. Hutchins' death leaves behind controversy, grief, and complex legacies. This is a sad story. A person died. This isn't trans news. Isn't news other than a person tragically died. That she was a conservative trans person is not news. I don't need to give them any platform, any voice. It's sad news. May her soul rest in peace.
I think it's an important thing to look at, like, how the dangers of the reckless MAGA death style. Like, these people, they live very reckless lives, and it's sad to see them die, but is it really a shock that she drove an ATV and recklessly hit someone else's car and then veered off a cliff that apparently has had other cars crash down there, which makes me wonder what the heck Malibu is doing with their roads, but that's a whole other discussion. But I'm sadly not shocked that a MAGA extremist ends up in this situation. Are any of us really shocked?
Well, I'm not sure I knew who she was when I first read of this story. I had to do a little homework to figure out who she was. I thought it was being more of a story because of her connection to Caitlyn. But I think it's sad that her view on life and her view on the community at large, that's what's sad, because she had the potential for impacting a great deal of negativity and a great deal of action against our community. And just because she could afford it as a blonde white woman, or the appearance of a blonde white woman with her MAGA face, that, tough shit. This is my world and you live in that world, and I'm going to take what I can from you. And that's just that's the sad part of this whole story.
It's sad, but also reminds us we probably shouldn't put too much emotional weight into concerning, because people of her ilk, they don't give a crap about any of us. If any of us died tomorrow and Fox and people that she's friends with on Fox were for some reason to cover it, it's not to say how sad it was. It would be to either make fun of us or try and point out that this is where homosexuals end up. So that's why I just don't have the sort of...
It just reminds us there are people who hate themselves.
Yeah.
And Caitlyn Jenner was definitely part of that from the beginning. She's always hated herself, and it shows in her relationships to the world around her, to other people, and a response to the transgender community. She's a person who needs some mental help. I'll leave it at that.
Alrighty. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your family and friends. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the Hot Passion, Hot Spots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Alex Morash. On behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Buddy Frey, Vaughn Biggs, Rex Rogosch, and Robert Hadley, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, by being transformative and queer. Good night.
Good night.